When it comes to bike jobs, I am very much a DIY kind of person. And what I mean by that is I'd much rather invest in the skills and tools required to do a job myself rather than pay a bike shop to do it for me. And now, whilst I don't mean to diminish the work bike shops do, I think there's such a value in learning a skill for yourself rather than just paying somebody else to do it for you. But bike tools can be extortionately expensive, and I don't think I would have been able to afford my massive tool wall behind me without the use of some ultra budget AliExpress parts. In today's video, I'm going to show you some incredible bike tools that make some of the most awkward, difficult and annoying bike jobs that much easier, and actually a complete breeze at times, to the point where I'd never consider going to a shop to have them done for me anymore. And the best part, I think you can pick up every single tool in this video all together for less than about 30 to 40 pounds. All of the tools in today's video I've selected specifically because they make some of the worst and most hated bike jobs that I absolutely despise doing actually quite bearable. So let's kick off with the first tool. Now I'm going to kick this off with this little BB tool right here. This one specifically being from a brand called TOOPRE, who are all over AliExpress making bike parts. And if you look really closely, you'll see there are a ton of different sized BB adapters all built in to this one slightly greasy tool. Now, what I really like about this and where I found this really useful is, even though you think threaded bottom brackets are so much easier to work on, there's so many different standards of sizes that I honestly, when I was trying to get a BB tool for my T47 bottom bracket on my light carbon gravel bike, had to buy 3 of these because I kept buying the wrong one, as every little version, inboard T47, outboard T47, BSA, Dub, they all generally use different tools. And even within the Shimano bottom brackets, there are 2 different tools that are often used. Whereas this, well, this can do all 6 of the most common standards in one tool. And whilst the actual teeth are not obviously going to engage quite as well as a dedicated tool, this is super useful. What's also really cool is you can either engage it with a spanner, I guess you could use like some sort of hex socket, or it's designed to be able to be attached onto a torque wrench or any other sort of ratchet wrench. So if I grab one of my AliExpress torque wrenches right here, it just clicks on like that and I can torque down my bottom bracket really easily. So I think this is an absolutely awesome tool, and I think these cost about £5. Next up then, we have probably the cheapest item in the list, and it's these tiny little shims that are designed to help you align your brake rotors and calipers perfectly. Now, these are 2 different designs. One's branded as Rider Ace, the other one D-Mount, another of the 2 sort of really common AliExpress bike brands. And what they do is, if I grab a brake rotor to show you, they slide onto your rotor, you rotate it around into the caliper, squeeze the lever on, and then you tighten the bolts down. What that ensures is it ensures there is a slim bit of clearance either side of the caliper still, so when you come to release it off, there's a thin bit of clearance either side of your rotor, meaning that you don't get anywhere near as bad brake rub. As I used to always just eyeball it by squeezing the lever and tightening them up, and it never quite worked perfectly. Usually after my pads wore down a little bit, it would start to like bed in and get settled. But right at the start, I'd find you'd always get that little tick, tick, tick of rotating. So actually by using one of these, you can get the alignment absolutely bang on. Now, these are the 2 sort of most common shapes and sizes, where this is probably the more sort of sturdy, useful one. However, due to its size, it doesn't always work brilliantly in every set of rotors and calipers. Whereas this one pretty much will work with any old set of calipers. Oh, and for anyone who's still a fan of rim brakes, you can get a rim-specific one too that still slides in between your brake blocks to get your brakes perfectly aligned, which is especially important if you use carbon rim brakes, as, yeah, you want every little bit of braking performance you can get out of them. Next up, we've got this curious little device. And now this is clearly 3D printed, and it is designed to get your saddle perfectly level in both side to side and forward and back directions. And it's actually super useful. As somebody who's constantly building up and tinkering with bikes, I'm always changing saddles over, swapping seat posts, and constantly needing to replicate my fit on numerous different bikes. And one really important part of bike fit is the tilt angle of your saddle. And this allows you to put your phone in the groove and use your phone spirit level, which is actually super accurate, especially when it's perfectly aligned in this groove, to get the saddle perfectly aligned. And as it's got this big flat surface, one extra benefit is it really does work well on these sort of modern, heavily cut away and defined saddles, as the flat surface sort of covers any of the indents and grooves to get it really representative of where your saddle is. As long as it's lined up perfectly, really useful to adjust that saddle angle. One other little benefit that I've found is it's got this little mini spirit level on the front, which, okay, isn't the most accurate thing in the world, but what it does is it allows you to adjust the side-to-side tilt of your saddle. Now, whilst this is completely not an issue if you're out on your road, unless you're trying to diagnose maybe like a slightly broken saddle rail, when you're on the turbo and you're trying to level the feet on your turbo side to side, it's actually really useful. Now, yes, you could spend ages, jump on, feel if it's right, oh, adjust it a little bit that way, jump on again, feel if it's right, adjust it a little bit more that way. But actually, that takes ages. With a quick 5-minute eyeball that, okay, that side's too high, twist the foot a bit, and your saddle's leveled and ready to go. So yeah, I found this just like a really handy piece of kit. And I end up actually using it all the time on like setting up bikes, measuring saddle angles. So yeah, strongly recommend you grab one of these. I think Risk is actually slowly becoming one of my favorite brands on AliExpress. You've seen half the things I've got to show you now. And if you are interested in trying any yourself, I'm gonna leave links to all the products featured today in the video description. Just so you know, they will be affiliated links. If you do buy something through them, it will end up supporting the channel and help me make more content like this, trying exciting new AliExpress bike parts. And while you're at it, can I ask one huge favor? Please get yourself subscribed and consider hitting that like button. And if you're enjoying this video, I'm sure you'll enjoy a ton more of my content. On to the next one. Another bike job I absolutely despise doing is swapping cleats from one pair of shoes to another, or replacing worn old cleats. Whilst I love having a brand new fresh set of cleats on my shoes, trying to replicate the exact position the old ones are in, especially on scuffed up old shoes like these, where you can't see any of the markings properly anymore, can be a right pain. And if you get this wrong, you can cause yourself a whole world of fit issues. But we don't need to worry, because there's a tool on AliExpress that can help you do that as well. And now this tool was super cheap. It allows you to slap your shoe on, line the cleat up in the groove, and then take a look at the heel right there, and you can basically take a measurement with the grid lines as to exactly how the heel is aligned to be able to perfectly replicate your cleat fit on a brand new cleat. And I found this has made my life so much easier replacing worn out old cleats. Now, this next tool helps with probably what is the most despised bike job of all time, maybe aside from brake bleeding, and that is internal cable routing. And this is one of the super cheap AliExpress from a brand called Rider Ace internal cable routing kits. To be honest with you, I've had this kit so long, I've lost most of the parts out of it, but the crucial bits still remain. Cracking open the box, the main part of the kit is this big long piece of wire with some things on the end, which I'll come to in a second. And the idea of this is this gets run through your frame in order to pull through either your brake hose or your gear cable. And in order to do that, you'll notice on one end there is a magnet. And then on the other end, you have this little piece which you can use to attach it. And then use that just to get it out, this end out the frame, attach the other end to your cable or hose and pull it through. Now, you'll notice this end for me is covered in loads of tape, and that's because I've never really quite got my head around. They have loads of little threaded adapters. I've still got one or two left in here that thread in theory, to the end of your hose or cable. Now, I've never really got these to work very well. So generally what I do is I just tape my cable to the end and pull it through. And that works absolutely perfect for me. Now, I might be even using this kit completely wrong, but the amount of bikes I've now built up with integrated handlebars without any problems whatsoever. My light carbon gravel bike had a fully internal cable routed headset, and also my Time Out duos have recently built up with my EXS bars, also full internal routing and not a problem. It takes no time at all with one of these proper kits. I would strongly recommend, if you have a bike with internal routing, you pick up one of these kits for yourself. Even if you don't intend to do all the servicing on that headset yourself, it's super useful. If you ever do need to adjust anything, or, you know, especially if you've got mechanical gears, change a cable, really quick with this kit, and it just makes your life so much easier. Now, there's a ton of different brands out there. This is one by Rider Ace, but pretty much every AliExpress tool brand makes one. There's no point spending a fortune on a Western kit when they're so good for a few quid out from China. I think this one cost me about $3 or $4. I'll put an up-to-date link in the description with what the prices are right now. That leaves us with time for one more item. And this one, again, is an item that makes actually slightly risky and also job I'm not a fan of so much easier. And that is this fork steerer chopping guide. And specifically the one I've got is made by a brand called TOOPRE, another one of the classic AliExpress tool brands. Now, what these tools allow you to do is clamp it onto your steerer, clamp it down, and then use your saw in the groove, and you get pretty much a perfectly straight cut every time without mangling your fork steerer, which, if you get that wrong, can be a very expensive job that can write off your forks entirely. Now, you may be saying, hang on, Tom, there is an easier and pretty much free way you can do this if you've got some old stems lying around. And yes, I used to do this method too. I've got some pretty trashed old stems here that I used to clamp on to my steerer tube and slice between them. You can see just how messed up the surface of this stem is from me doing just that method. Now, when I was building up my light carbon bike, I used this method, and something you didn't see in that video is I messed it up big time and actually nearly wrote off the forks. I'd managed to cut it at such a horrific angle and make such a bodge of it that I actually had to take even more carbon off and chop it lower. Fortunately, that initial chop I'd chopped fairly high to give myself a bit more stack to work with while I was dialing in the fit, and it's fine without any spacers whatsoever. But if I had needed some spacers to get that fit right, I'd have been pretty stuck and probably emailing Light Carbon begging them to sell me another fork. So yeah, please just avoid using stems to chop a steerer. It's not worth it, especially on your nice fancy carbon bike. Yes, on an old beat up shopping bike, it's fine, but on an expensive carbon frame, spend what I think was about $15 and buy a proper clamp guide. Now, this one as well, I forgot to mention, is designed to be clamped in a vise. I usually just brace it on a surface and hold my fork in a rag, as I don't currently have a vise on my bench behind me, and it's perfectly good enough for chopping a fork. Just make sure if you're working on carbon, you do it outside in good airflow. You don't want to be breathing in that carbon dust. Also, this tool works perfectly fine on seat posts as well. So if you want to be a bit of a weight weenie and save some extra weight off your seat post, you can trim it down to the sort of minimum possible length with one of these tools as well. So I hope you enjoyed all of them tools I had to share with you today, and they are all things I'm using on a very, very regular basis. And now, proper high-end bike shop quality tools will probably last longer than these sort of consumer grade AliExpress tools. For a hobbyist like myself, and like most people watching this video, I think honestly, I know the saying buy cheap, buy twice exists. These tools are perfectly up to scratch for any home mechanic. If you're using them all day, every day in a bike shop environment, yes, go and buy high-end professional kit. As I said before, I'm gonna leave everything linked in the description below. And if you've enjoyed this video and you wanna see these tools in action, get yourself subscribed and give this video a thumbs up, as I've got a ton more exciting content to come. But you're gonna have to wait till Sunday for my next video. So until then, I'll see you all in the next one.